Das war's für diese Folge. Vergesst nicht, ein Like dazulassen und zu abonnieren.
And we will show the heavens that we are worthy.
Hey, that's pretty good.
A few minutes later.
Into the mouth. Nice.
3 weeks later. I want to die.
It's finally time for the seasonal review of D4. So that the German Beavis can react to it, Blizzard watches his video and fixes this game. I've spent hundreds of hours this season questioning my life choices, but I've also had a pretty damn decent time, I must say. So let's head straight on in, see what sucked donkey balls this season, and what Blizz did well, and we'll start with one of the donkey balls, the campaign. Huge spoilers ahead, but this one was a huge letdown. While the German Beavis and his friends went full big dick on the campaign and speed ran through it, I went the slow route and sat through the entire campaign watching every cinematic and conversation. And why would I do that? Well, shit, because I did it when the game first launched and had a damn good time doing it. But this time, all I could think of was drop-kicking Narelle in the face to get her to stop her goddamn gibbering nonsense. Because that was all this campaign was to me. It barely progressed the story and killed off the only genuine badass an hour after meeting the guy, and we were back looking for Narelle and her gibbering nonsense. I had to sit through my 10-hour of campaign recordings just to understand what the hell was going on in the campaign, as the only memory I still had was that of fighting a massive dog. Albeit I was drunk as shit. You would assume there was a few memorable moments in the campaign, but there was not. It was also extremely short, and I'll be expecting way more from the next expansion, honestly. Thankfully, though, this was the low point of the expansion, in my opinion, which has a lot to do with the fact that I was anticipating way more LOL. And I still had a decent enough time during the campaign, mainly because I was rocking the new class, which leads me into the next topic, the Cringeborn class. Can we just agree that this class is fun? Or at least that it's well designed for the most part? Each skill is unique in some way, and could be used in some build in the future as the only real reason we are stuck in a shitty meta where everyone runs the same build has to do with some of the uniques and passives being massively bugged and broken. Compare that to the Neckbeard class, for example. Here everyone runs the same skills, not because they are broken, but because all of the other skills being dog shit. There is just a massive difference between a few items funneling everyone into the same builds for the Spiritborn and everyone being funneled into the same builds due to god-awful spells. The former is a balance issue, the latter is a massive class issue, and the Spiritborn does not have any massive class issues compared to the other classes. Want some additional examples? Sure. Take the core skills, for example. Each of them has a separate tag, and when Quill Volley has been tuned down, they will all have different uses. Compare it to the Barb. Halter and Upheaval are basically the same skill with different looks, and it's no surprise to anyone that when one of them has been strong, the other has also been strong. Or, well shit, a support skill. But that's a rant for another time. Also, just take Iron Maelstrom as an example. Who in their right mind would ever use this skill? It's just trash in every way imaginable and needs a rework or 10 uniques to function. This problem does not exist for the Cringeborn because Blizz had some time to cook that thing. I also appreciate that the class has some cool interactions that actually change how the skills work instead of just being flat-out boring-ass damage bonuses. There are not as many of these interactions such as in Last Epoch, for example, but we still have lovely things such as evade casting basic skills, casting core skills and defensives being used for offensive as a few examples. But despite it being great, it's not perfect, of course, which brings me to the bugs. How many Spiritborn bugs are we using in the top builds currently? I've lost count, honestly. And they are no small bugs. You have legendary nodes granting a 100x multiplier, uncapped aspects everywhere, and every unique weapon granting thousands of multiplicative damage. Unfortunately, this will always be a thing in Diablo, simply due to how we are scaling damage in this game. One screw-up somewhere in an aspect or node, and you're screwed. This time, it just happened to be way more aspects and nodes than what we have seen before. And it doesn't really get any better when you have popular content creators promoting blatant cheating either.
Bruh.
So let's just leave the Spiritborn with one word of advice. Beta. My bet is there will be no changes coming to all of these bugs in the mid-season patch. But I do have high hopes for the next season as long as we get a PTR. Because it's going to be hard as hell to balance the Spiritborn class, otherwise once all of this shit is gone. Fortunately though, all of the other classes are in a fairly good spot compared to each other. Alright, let's head on over to some other bugs, mainly the golden item dupes, because this season had the worst economy out of all seasons by far. Just a few weeks into the game, an aspect is costing upwards of a whopping 100 billion gold. Getting decked out would cost trillions of gold, and while I do not promote gold buying, Blizz simply does not seem to give a shit about it anymore. A quick Google shows in some strange alien language that 1 trillion gold is 50 bucks. So basically, you can spend 50 bucks and get the best gear in the game. Gear that would take someone probably 1,000 hours to obtain. And assume that you farmed your gold legit boosting dogshit newbies or whatever, you can now finally buy one of these insanely expensive items. And what are you met with? Thousands upon thousands of duped goddamn items. And if you buy one of these, chances are they just magically disappear someday. Because that has been happening too. Which brings me on to the next topic. We need an auction house, man. There's just no getting around it. And this is coming from someone that has done a shit ton of trading in this game. Finding items in this game is now impossible, and the only way to get somewhere is to trade. Unfortunately, to trade with people that are massive assholes is suboptimal. They're duping, they're scamming, and they're flipping all of the items. I've previously been against an auction house because I believe it comes at a huge expense of actual gameplay. But trading this season has been absolute AIDS, and I've now changed my mind. So this is how I would do it. For starters, menus suck ass. I don't even know where we find the gauntlet, for example. Hell, I doubt even the German Beavis knows where it is. It has its own button somewhere. I have no idea which one. So no menu, please, and thank you. What we need is a trading vendor. The Obol guy looks pretty lonely. Let's give him a friend. And if some people don't want trading in the game, well, tough shit. The benefits outweigh the downsides for sure. But there are indeed downsides. For example, people ending up just flipping items on the auction house or making it the core part of the entire game. To solve the former is pretty simple though. Just make the items account bound after purchasing them and that shit is solved. The latter is more difficult, but slapping a solo self-found mode on and granting you various buff for going solo a la Last Epoch could be a solution there. Alright friends, let's continue on the item topic and talk a bit more about itemization. For starters, if you haven't been aware, finding great items is extremely difficult. I'm fine with this. Each time a triple GA item drops, I'm whipping my dick out for Harambe just to punch a hole in my monitor when it has life per second on it. All good though, as long as we are getting an auction house and can more easily obtain ancestral items. What I do have a problem with, however, are two things. For starters, legendary items are absolute trash. I was hard crying about this all the way back during the PTR. Blizz followed that up by improving them, making them less trash. These items are now just littering the screen. They're the new yellow items. You don't get anything from picking them up. You grab them, you go to the blacksmith and salvage them, and you get nothing. I thought that we were trying to move away from all of these garbage gear problems where you're just using some of them for a couple of hours and then they're just screen littering. I would love an item filter here, but I doubt we are getting one. So what else can we do about them? It's rather simple, really. Boost the shit out of the salvaging materials would be my solution. Combine that with being able to transmute legendary materials into rare and common materials, and now we are talking. Or hey, just remove the common and rare materials altogether and only use the legendary materials. Because I doubt anyone out there has missed the fact that raw hides and iron chunks has been a massive bottleneck. First, it was the Forgotten Souls, and now these. And in the previous seasons it was veiled, crystals and angel breath. We can either remove these materials, or we have to be able to transmute the materials. Because having some of the common materials be bottlenecks each season sucks ass. I mean, come on. I've killed the fat diabetic and his friends thousands of times this season. Is it to farm Ubers? Nope. To farm uniques? Nope. It's to farm fucking rawhides. That's just dumb, honestly. And the last seasons I was running around in Helltides picking up flowers. Also dumb. If I'm a big schlong ziz pumper blasting quintillions of damage, I don't want to spend time with the common peasants killing diabetics all day long. That activity should be reserved for mythic and unique farming. Also, a small thing that's been bugging me, having legendary Neath Iron was way cooler than these rare obducets. Bring back the Neath Irons. It doesn't get any better when this stupid-ass AI mispronounces obducets half of the time either. On to the second massive problem with itemization, the aspects. For context, to gain the high aspect ranks, you must get an ancestral to drop it. But at the same time, the ancestrals can also get a shitty roll. And most aspects can have 20 or more rolls on it, meaning it's close to impossible to gain the highest ranks. The non-bald max roll guy liked this new change. I'm with him on the fact that I'm cool with only ancestral items being able to roll the highest rolls. But god damn it, man, don't let them roll the lowest rolls too, for the love of God. Hunting aspects is not fun at all. Finding highly rolled aspects has not granted me any joy at all. All of these hundreds of hours I've played this season, I have been nothing but pissed off that I'm running around with dogshit aspects. And if I were to get one with a high roll, I would probably still be pissed. This has to go. To the goddamn trash, that is. Because I hate it. Oh, and by the way, why do all the Spiritborn rings look the same? Just asking. Okay, friends, and next we have the new activities. Let's start with the Undercity. Blizz partially missed the mark on this one. Want to know why? Of course you do, you dirty dog. Because the drop rate for the tributes are all messed up. This should be easily solved, though. I like the Undercity a lot. It's great for target farming. But there are not enough tributes apart from the Titans and Harmony. Fix this shit, and the Undercity is going to be amazing for target farming. And I honestly don't think you need to worry too much about people only running the Undercity for everything. In my opinion, this should be the main place to acquire ancestral items, but as it currently stands, those tributes are, funnily enough, the most difficult to obtain. The refinement ones I don't give too much of a shit about, seeing as we already have 2 obducet farms. But it would be fun to vary a bit and run some Undercities for those too, I guess. And then the other new activity, the Dark Citadel. This was a hit or miss for people. Some loved it, some hated it. Personally, I'm somewhere in the middle. I thought it was fun as hell to do the first time, then I felt done with it because I don't care too much about the cosmetics and I don't have any friends. But overall, I'd say this was a success. It's a completely new way to play the game. It had some cool techs in it, and I sincerely hope Blizz keeps working on this thing and don't just ditch it like they did with the Gauntlet. And in case you don't know what the Gauntlet is, don't worry, just ignore it. The same goes for the Mercenaries. They were a pretty solid addition to the game. I was skeptical of these at first, as I'm not a massive fan of having some idiot follow me around, but they grant useful buffs, and I enjoyed their quest chains. Way to go proving me wrong, Blizz. The same goes for the runes. From being just a DPS boost during the PTR, they are now actually interesting. Perhaps your using teleport has to become fast as fuckboy. Or perhaps you're using the vortex to pull enemies in. There are a lot of fun options, honestly, and Blizz is proly adding some more as well. Good stuff. Alright, and next up on the agenda we have progression. All the way from level 1 to Paragon 300. I'm currently about halfway, but at the same time I haven't been specifically target farming experienced just yet. And I can gladly say that all the way from level 1 all the way to where I am now, the progression has been pretty great apart from one thing. And that is the fact that I've been playing Spiritborn. But playing the rogue and shit-smearing barbarian, the progression was pretty damn solid there. If you suck ass, then you start at normal. Maybe you get an aspect or two, and then you can swap to hard. Once you get your build online, you swap to expert. As you're approaching 60, maybe you have a unique or two, and you can go for penitent. You then work on your gear, do all the activities, and move towards Torment 4. This felt great, honestly. Apart from the Spiritborn, of course, there it was more or less just slap on a rod of Kepaleke and hop into Torment 4 straight away. But again, that's probably getting fixed. I also really enjoy the fact that we now have the Paragon grind. I'll be trying to get that Paragon 300 before the season ends, but I also don't give a shit about it since I've already unlocked all the important Paragon nodes. Despite this, though, at least I have a reason to log in. And that's probably great for the good old Bobby Cowdick severance pay as well. Now we've been a bit too positive here for a while. Let's chuck a Yui and see what's going on with our new seasonal mechanic, the Gaping Asshole. It's a gaping asshole because this mechanic sucks ass. We're just following him around for 5 minutes, slow walking until he finally spawns a portal just so we can get one of our seething opals for that tiny bit of additional experience and some additional materials. To make things worse, the guy is never alive when I need to kill him for the opals. Instead, he spawns every now and then, walks around slow as hell and wastes our time. We should just be able to spawn this guy how many times we want, mass farm the opals and get done with it while at the same time making him move faster. The resilience making him impossible to one-shot is fine, but forcing us to follow him around for half an hour is not. Perhaps it's fixed during the mid-season patch, perhaps it's not. But either way, please know more of this. Ilmao, lol, ruffle. Well, damn, that's all I had for this one. Got any additional suggestions? Drop them below. Perhaps someone is watching. Probably not, but you never know. Either way, see you in the next one, Kings.
Das war's für diese Folge. Vergesst nicht, ein Like dazulassen und zu abonnieren.